Hi, this is Casey Stokes with Peak Performance Physical Therapy. I'm here to talk to you about youth sport. Specifically, I'm going to be talking about early specialization and early talent identification in youth athletics and some of the negative consequences that come along with that. Now, when we talk about talent identification, we're talking about the act of choosing what athlete might show the potential to perform at the highest level in any given position. Now, when we think about our contemporary practices of talent identification, really what we're talking about is talent selection, or the act of finding the athlete who is already performing the best. That is usually the model in American athletics. So we go to a middle school track and field meet and we sit at the line and we say, which of these athletes is most likely to be a good sprinter? And everyone instantly points and says, well, that one, because they just won the 100-meter dash. The problem with this model is, what athlete do you expect to win a middle school 100-meter dash? The young-looking, scrawny, baby-faced boy who's standing on the starting line, or the one who looks like he's 25 and has a mustache? Development plays a larger role than actually the training that goes into athletics at that level. When we're looking at the difference between that person who's already passed through puberty and the one who's still, in truth, a child, we can't simply look at them and say the one who competes better today is going to be the better athlete, because we're doing a disservice to both of them. The person who wins that race, who's an early bloomer and who already is developed to a great extent, may actually be at the peak of their performance. They may not be able to exceed those limitations by much. And what's going to happen is some of the people surrounding them are going to start catching up with them in speed and development, in strength. That competitive edge that they have right now is going to start shrinking. And what happens when we've already built them up and told them, you're going to be a great athlete someday. You're going to be a great athlete when you get older because you're so good right now. What happens when that individual starts to get beat by his peers, beat by people who at one point were much smaller and slower than he was? We're doing a disservice to that athlete because he is going to start having doubts about his own self-worth if we've built his self-worth around the fact that he is better than his peers. And what happens when that young, scrawny, small boy is ignored by his coaches because they don't see him as being worth the time of day of actually getting better because he isn't fast yet? What happens when 10 years from now he's the long, lanky, lean, strong person that you actually wanted to compete in that basketball team and high jump in hurdles, and you've ignored them because you didn't think that they had the potential to be there? These are really scary consequences. And when we start to think about this on a grand scale, because this happens a lot, we have a lot of late bloomers who are ignored and a lot of early bloomers who are told that they are much better than they probably are, to be honest. A better system would be talent identification, or the act of selecting athletes for tasks that they will be best suited for. And there are ways to think about this. We have the length of the Achilles in a throwing event, or some of our vital capacity, our muscle makeup between slow twitch and fast twitch fibers. Now, we're not going to do a muscle biopsy on every athlete, but there are ways to estimate that with a bench test or something similar that we here at Peak Performance can talk to you about at some point or make another video about. But the goal being, in the long term, that we select those athletes that are best suited for those sport tasks so that they have the most success that they can have, so that every athlete has the most success that they can have. Now, what happens, unfortunately, in the United States is that a lot of our athletes end up specializing in a sport before the age of 16, before the age that they've really been able to make a decision informed themselves, and before the point where they actually have their full development. It's almost a universally agreed thing, except for some of our early specialization sports, such as gymnastics or figure skating, that we need to stop our athletes from becoming single sport athletes before the age of 16. We need to stop the early specialization, year-round competitive performance in those sports until they really reach that age, because they need to explore these different options and get the cross-training and other benefits of seeing those different sporting activities that really long-term increases their likelihood to be professional in all athletic positions. If you want more information, you can contact us at info@peakperformanceompt.com.